initiate people into Kriya Yoga, and also the knowledge of Totapuri I also initiate. Then it's the initiation of Babaji gave to Larry Mahasaya. It's a spiritual initiation, not so much a physical initiation. Many people, when they hear of Kriya Yoga, because they identify with their physical body, they identify with everything in the world. Anything you can experience through the senses, you identify with. And you think, because I identify with it, this is where I live. I live in the physical world. I'm a physical being. Once you start to experience the disappointment of human life, meaning you can be intelligent, you can work hard, and then you can have a disease, you can have an accident that changes your life. You can have friends that betray you, family members that betray you, business partners that are disappointing. Everybody starts to have disappointments in life. And then you start to think, there's got to be something more than this. And there has to be something better than this. And there is. There is something better. And this has been announced, and this has been taught for thousands of years by enlightened souls, enlightened people. Enlightened people are very rare. There aren't very many of them. But it's also rare that somebody really wants to have God realization. That's also rare. Many want Kriya Yoga for health, to create magnetism, to possibly expand their consciousness, things that are for the reason of their own benefit. Meaning, I want to benefit, so I want to practice Kriya Yoga. I want to benefit in somehow. And of course, that's how it's presented, because if you identify with the physical body, if you don't identify with soul, if you don't identify with spirit, then of course that's what you want. You want your personal benefit, because you don't feel satisfied. So that makes sense. So Kriya Yoga is presented to everybody that there's more to you than this world. There's more to you than your physical body. There's more to you than what you can hear, taste, touch, and feel. There's a whole spiritual realm within inside of you. This is where there's some confusion. People think, well, it's within inside my body. No, it isn't within inside your body. Remember, you're not your body. Your body is much bigger. Your spiritual body is much larger than this physical body. The spiritual realm is much, much larger than this physical universe. So when they say within, what they mean is have self-realization, know what you are, and then meditate within Atma. You are Atma. Meditate within Atma. And there you will find the source, your source. You won't find it in your physical body. You'll find it in your spiritual body, and you'll find your source. And your source is Paramatma. Now, once you make contact with yourself has the same qualities as Paramatma. The Paramatma is much, 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 even much larger, expanded than your own individual self. And then that's where you come from. That's where home is. So this is the path of Kriya Yoga. Path of Kriya Yoga is specifically not for God realization, not for self-realization, but for Pratyahara. There are techniques that help you achieve Pratyahara. Pratyahara is simple. Pratyahara is withdrawal of your Prana, meaning your energy, from the senses, from the eyes, from the nose, from the tongue, from the ears, from the skin. When Prana is withdrawn from the senses, you no longer identify with the physical body. Your spiritual body becomes self-evident. Your spiritual body is there all the time, but you become aware of it because your focus isn't on the physical body. So the spiritual body, which a lot refer to as the spiritual body, as the self, that reveals itself when you actually achieve Pratyahara. It's extremely difficult. You would have to be a very rare, advanced soul to have self-realization without some sadhana. Extremely rare. There are some examples. Is one that I wants to get. Some say, well, Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi, if you do some research on Ramana Maharshi, he practiced sadhana. He details his practice, his sadhana practice, and he achieved Pratyahara. A very simple. His first experience was he laid down, and he felt that he was dying, and so he said, "I'm just going to go with dying." So he died. What does that mean? It means he withdrew his prana from all the human body senses, and he had Pratyahara, and then he had self-realization. And self-realization is so beautiful and so blissful that you meditate on the self. The Vedas say to meditate on the self. The Upanishads say meditate on the self. The Gita says meditate on the self. All the scriptures say meditate on the self. Well, that's very clear instruction, except how can I meditate on the self if I don't know the self? You have to know the self in order to meditate on the self. Yeah. Self-realization isn't difficult once you achieve Pratyahara. So Kriya Yoga techniques are to achieve Pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses from the body. Ramana Maharshi just did it with affirmation. He lie down, said, I'm dying, I'm not the body. What is it going to be like to exist without the body, without consciousness of the physical world? And that's what Nirvikalpa Samadhi is, full and complete surrender and expanded consciousness in the self. And you have no awareness of the physical body. If you have no awareness of the physical body, the senses are not active, and you're fully 100% in the spiritual realm. And so anybody can have that if they're instructed by somebody who has enlightenment. You have to have enlightenment. You cannot find something, you cannot discover something by somebody who has not found it themselves. How is that possible?
It was hot for me.
If I wanted to go to Badrinath,
Remove the.
if I wanted to go to Badrinath and I'm in Rishikesh, then I ask some people there in the Ganges, I say, how do you get to Badrinath? And they all say, I know how to get there. And so they tell you, go here, go there, you go through this town, you go there, you make a turn, this, that. And you say, okay, what is Badrinath like? Have you been there? And they say, well, I can tell you what it's like, but no, I've never been there myself. But would you follow their instructions on how to get there if they never traveled there themselves? That wouldn't be very smart, would it? So the first thing you ask, if you want Kriya Yoga initiation, there's the obvious elephant in the room question. Do you have self-realization? That would be the first question I would ask. You're going to teach me a path of Kriya Yoga to have self-realization. Do you have self-realization? And you're entitled to that question. You're entitled to an answer. It isn't it's not an offensive question. It's a very necessary question. I would have to ask it. And then I would ask, how does the Kriya Yoga path actually work to have self-realization? Describe to me in detail what happens on the path, how to enter the path, how I travel on the path, and then what is self-realization like? If they haven't had self-realization, they can't answer any of those questions. So you're going to teach me Kriya Yoga, but you don't know the path and you don't have self-realization. Does that make any sense? That's the secret of Kriya Yoga. Many say, oh, Kriya Yoga is secret because you're told not to tell others the Kriya Yoga techniques. Now, there's a big misunderstanding about that. Most of the techniques are already known to most people in India. They're not known to people in the United States or people in Europe, but most people in India grew up with the knowledge of how to practice these techniques, except for Kriya Pranayama. But all the other techniques, the Soham, Hamsa, mantra meditation, the Jyoti Mudra, Mahamudra, the Pranava Mudra, those are taught all throughout India, and they always have been. So there's nothing secret about them. The reason you're asked to keep it a secret is you should not reveal something to somebody that is curious. Something that is serious to somebody who's curious. Curiosity is not serious. Don't tell others spiritual techniques if they're not serious. All they're going to do is criticize it. All they're going to do is look at the physical aspects of it and say, well, how does that give self-realization? And if somebody was truly knowledgeable about Kriya Yoga, they would say it doesn't give self-realization. It's for the achievement of Pratyahara, withdrawal of senses from the body, and for recognition of where I should have my attention, how to see the self, how to know the self after I have Pratyahara. That would be the description. So in Kriya Yoga, the techniques in Kriya Yoga, you have Hamsa mantra. Hamsa mantra is not only physically or mentally reciting a mantra. There's japa, there's many mantras throughout India. It started in India. And it's a really good method of concentrating your mind. The Hamsa mantra in Kriya Yoga is to come into contact, to feel the vibration of Om. Once you have feel the vibration of Om, that's communion with God. You can communicate with God, you can commune with God through his primordial vibration of Om. And every single human being has that within them. Every single human being is able to commune with God if they have the desire to. If all their desires are not just worldly desires, but if they have true, sincere, serious spiritual desire for self-realization, it can be given to them. Anybody. And they do have to understand the process. They do have to understand why do I practice Hamsa mantra? Why do I practice Kriya Pranayama? Why do I practice Jyoti Mudra? Also, why do I practice Khetri Mudra? Why do I practice Pranava Mudra? Why? What's the purpose? What happens when I practice them? You have to know what happens when you practice them. Otherwise, your mind is wondering the whole time, and your mind is thinking, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? What is it like? What's the experience going to be like? So you're trying to practice the technique, but your mind is interrupting your concentration. It could all be, you can have a much concentrated effort if you know why you're practicing the technique, why you're practicing the Hamsa mantra, why you're practicing the Kriya Pranayama, why you're practicing Jyoti Mudra, Pranava Mudra, Khetri Mudra, Maha Mudra. Why? It can be explained extremely easy. Once you understand, and everybody's capable of understanding, and doesn't require a high IQ or intellect, because it's so simple. Then it's much easier to have results. because the question, what is going to happen? Is it this? Is it that? Is gone, because it's been answered. So to understand the basic philosophy of God, to understand how to practice the techniques, which is very, very easy. I can teach a child how to do it. And then to practice, to actually practice. Most people that receive Kriya Yoga initiation don't practice the way they've been taught. It's a human worldly condition to not stick with anything. You could say, well, I'm interested in playing the piano. How many people have started playing the piano and then stopped? Many, many, many. I'm interested in playing the guitar. How many people start to play the guitar and then stop? They stop having their practice sessions. So it's the worldly condition, because your mind is fickle like a monkey. So the same with Kriya Yoga. A lot of people start to practice, and then they get interested in something else, and they move on to something else. That's the way the worldly mind works. Now, some people have an exceptionally strong mind. If they want to accomplish something, they know they have the desire. The desire is very strong, and they know they've been taught exactly how to achieve what they want. A master of guitar or a master of piano, for example, if they teach you how to play, they know all the obstacles to practice. So they address all the obstacles that are going to come up to practice, because they're going to say, you have to practice every day. An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Just like to practice the meditation, just like to practice the Kriya Yoga. You have to practice like you're learning how to play the piano. You have to do it every day. So that's really stressed that you have to practice Kriya Yoga every day. Now, when you practice, self-realization can happen within a couple of hours. It can happen within a couple of weeks. It can happen within a few months. Or it can happen after years. It depends on with what intensity do you practice. And if you have the desire. The intensity comes with desire. If you want something really badly, your concentration is going to be stronger. It's going to be all you can think about is, how can I have this? So if you want to know God, if you want to have communion with God, if you're not satisfied with life in the world, because remember, life in the world for everybody that enjoys life in the world, and for those who never want to be reincarnated, everybody dies. Everybody's body dies. 60 years, 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, and some 100 years old. Your body is going to wear out. It's going to expire. Where are you going to go? Well, you're going to go into the spiritual realms. If you achieve Pratyahara with the Kriya Yoga techniques, and if you start to meditate after Pratyahara regularly, you're already prepared to go into the spiritual world. And you're going to go into the higher spiritual realms, because that's where you're meditating. That's what you're associating with. And you always become what you associate with. If you associate with good people, it would be hard to become a bad person. If you associate with bad people, it would be very easy to become a bad person. If you associate with God in meditation, it's very easy to commune with God permanently. You never have to come back to this world. If you achieve the goal, which is God communion, God realization, and yoga. Don't forget, in Kriya Yoga, it is yoga. Yoga means one with, merging with. So that is also Kriya Yoga. It isn't just Kriyas. Kriyas are methods that you practice, but it is also yoga, union with. Okay, we have a few questions here. Okay, this is a good question. It's a common question. Is there any negative impact of getting initiated by multiple gurus? Well, the answer to that is yes, and also no. If you have a good, clear understanding of spiritual philosophy and being initiated by multiple gurus isn't harmful because you're being initiated. You go to them for initiation for a particular purpose. Some gurus teach hatha yoga, for example. So you could go to a hatha yoga guru and be initiated, be instructed on how to practice hatha yoga. You could go to a Tai Chi guru. You can be instructed on how to practice Tai Chi. You could go to a spiritual guru, and you could be taught how to live properly, what foods are good and what foods are bad for meditation, and how to live with others without getting mad, without getting irritated, without getting upset, and how to not have desires that are out of control, and how to control the mind. All of this can be taught by a particular guru who concentrates and knows how to do this. So that could be beneficial. Now, a Kriya Yoga guru, the question, I would change the question. I would say, is there any negative impact of getting initiated by multiple Kriya Yoga gurus? Now, that's always, yes, there's a negative impact because they're representing Babaji. They're representing how to practice Kriya Yoga. I would ask the question, do you have self-realization? And then see what their answer is. And then I would ask, this is what I would ask. I would ask, can you demonstrate to me that you have self-realization, what it is, and give me a demonstration. Somebody, a guru who has self-realization can demonstrate it to you. Absolutely. Yogananda demonstrated that on stage. It can be demonstrated. If they don't know what it means to demonstrate it, they might say, well, you would have to live with me and see how I behave throughout the day and throughout the night. Yeah, that's one way, but you can also just show me. Now, if they don't know how to show you, then they're not a true Kriya Yoga guru. So to be initiated by somebody who isn't a guru of self-realization, God realization, and liberation would be harmful because, like here, have a glass of water. Have a glass of water. So we purify our water. So this is a glass of purified water. Now I could get another glass and it would be tap water. It'd be unpurified water. So both of them are good because both of them are water. If I'm really, really thirsty and dehydrated, it's extremely beneficial. But if you look at both of them, if you look at this water, it looks very pure, doesn't it? But it isn't. If it's from the tap, there's all kinds of germs in it. And those germs come into your body and you assimilate them. So the same with a Kriya Yoga guru who doesn't have self-realization. They're also teaching you and introducing you to things that are not true. The things that are hearsay, things that they heard, things that somebody told them, things that they read that aren't true. Now that isn't hard to understand. Most things that people talk about, they don't have knowledge of themselves. You can put a group of people together and discuss anything, and people are mostly giving you their opinions. A guru never gives you his opinion. He tells you the truth as he's realized the truth. And then you can match that with gurus of the past, true gurus of the past, like Ramakrishna, for example, or Paramahansa Yogananda. You can, and the scriptures, you can match in the scriptures that what they say. It also says in the Upanishad, also says in the Veda, also says exactly the same in the Gita, because they're teaching from the same truths. So in a particular discipline like Kriya Yoga, it would be harmful to have initiation by multiple gurus. The reason is that, let's say, your first initiation, they teach you how to practice Kriya Pranayama, but they may focus on the physical aspect of Kriya Pranayama, which is breathing and visualization. And then your true guru that you're initiated by, they teach you Kriya Pranayama, and it's very different. They teach you spiritual Kriya Pranayama. They teach you the physical aspect, which is very simple and superficial. But they don't spend very much time on it because it's so easy. But where they spend their time is revealing to you the actual spiritual method of Kriya Pranayama. That's what I concentrate on when I initiate. That you can start working in the spiritual realm while you're in the physical realm, and that's what makes your transition at death beneficial. That you'll go into the higher spiritual realms because you're already practicing methods of the higher spiritual realms. So naturally, you would go there. So that's a real benefit. And also, you could most very likely have self-realization within a few weeks, within a few months. It really wouldn't take more than a year if you're following the directions of the guru. So let's say I have a health problem, and I go to a Ayurvedic doctor, and the Ayurvedic doctor gives me a discipline of what to eat, what not to eat, proper rest, and also the Ayurvedic remedies. So he might, usually in Ayurveda, they give you more than one remedy. So let's say you might have 3 or 4 remedies that you swallow or that you drink or that you apply. So you're enthusiastic with the doctor actually applies it, has you take it right there in his office, in his clinic. And then he says, when you go home, take this in the morning, take this in the evening, take this much, and then do this every day, in the morning and the evening. Do it every day. Next day, you're enthusiastic, you do exactly as he said. Next day, you have something really on your mind, some problem, and you're slightly distressed. So you say, well, I can't practice Kriya Yoga under these conditions of my mental distress. So I'll see how I'm feeling the following day. This is how your mind tricks you. And so you miss the session. The following day, you're still feeling unconcentrated. You skip it for the next day. Now you started a routine of skipping what you're supposed to practice every day, or you're supposed to take from the doctor every day. And then you have another appointment with the Ayurvedic doctor in 2 weeks, and you say, my condition hasn't improved. And he says, are you taking the medicine at the proper time every day? Are you practicing the exercises every day? Are you applying the ointment every day? And he said, no. And he said, well, what do you expect? You expect to just go to a doctor and the meeting with the doctor is going to solve your physical illness? He gives you a protocol that you have to follow. So Kriya Yoga is not Shaktipat. You don't go to a guru and the guru changes your mental direction with Shaktipat. It's not that at all. There's no Shaktipat in Kriya Yoga. Shaktipat's not beneficial. I can explain it sometime why it isn't. The ancient way of realization is sadhana. In Kriya Yoga is sadhana that you practice. Like Ramana said, the power of Kriya Yoga And that gets everybody's attention. The power of Kriya Yoga is in the practice. Now that's important to understand. If you want to play if you want to be an excellent pianist, you would have to practice every day. I used to take a friend of mine to her piano practice every day, 6 days a week. I'd drive her there and then pick her up from her practice. And she went to every single practice with her teacher 7 days a week. And then she became a really, really good pianist. After Kriya Yoga initiation, it's a personal initiation where you're taught personally how to practice. And you have to understand that the power is in the practice. Okay, let's see some more questions. So yes, there are negative impacts of being initiated by multiple Kriya Yoga gurus, definitely. Your first Kriya Yoga initiation, you should make sure that the one given initiation has self-realization. It should be able to demonstrate it as well. If not, why are you bothering to take initiation? It's not going to be fruitful if they don't know, because it is different for every single person. I'll tell you why. Let's say you're in the jungle, you're starving to death, you've been in the jungle for weeks and weeks, just a few roots to eat, and it's dangerous in the jungle here. We have tigers, and we have leopards, and we've got wild hogs with big, huge tusks, and we have snakes. All of these can kill you. So if you're out in the jungle, just right here, especially at night, if you're sleeping up there, it's extremely dangerous. So you're always nervous. You're always looking over your shoulder to see if there's some danger. Snakes are a little bit. It isn't a big animal running towards you. It's something that you just happen to step close to. So it's harder to see. So it's hard for you to sleep if you know that tigers are coming around at night. It would be hard to sleep. So you're also extremely tired. And you know that to get to the Ganges is safety, because you can get to the Ganges and then you can jump in the Ganges and you're safe. And then you could swim to the other side where there is no danger. Everything is beautiful. Flowers, trees, birds, harmless animals, friendly animals, lots of food, lots of rest, because you're not scared. So if there's people lost in the jungle, let's say if there's a dozen people lost in the jungle, individually, which all of us are lost individually, we're not lost collectively, we're all lost individually. If somebody else is found, we're not found, they're found. If somebody else finds safety, we're not finding safety, they're finding safety. So it's individual for everybody. They would be in different locations in the jungle, just from wandering around lost. So if somebody were to come from the Ganges to take them to safety, they would go to where you are, to where you are located, not to where someone else is located, but to where you're located. So Kriya Yoga initiation is the same. The initiation can be slightly different for every single individual. A true guru looks at your karma. You can easily see your karma. There's a way to do it that he knows how to do, and he's capable of doing it. And then initiates you according to your subconscious karma that you're not aware of, the karma that will, at some time, under favorable conditions, bear fruit. So that's a danger. And then your present karma that you're going through now, because you instigated the action in the past, and you're just now starting to feel the effect of it. So he sees all of that. So he knows which Kriya Yoga methods are best for you and knows how you should practice them for you. And then the other person that he finds, he would give different instructions. If he finds you at this location and how to proceed to the Ganges, he would say, take this path on this large banyan tree, make a right at the banyan tree. But somebody else, they would say, take this path. It would be a different path. And then make a left at the guava tree. It would be different. It's the same, and all of them are being led to safety. That's the same. But the method on how to get there is going to be different. So Kriya Yoga initiation is given to you personally, not in a group. It isn't, there isn't just only one way of practice. Other question, if you meet a true guru, do you need to be initiated in person? How is it possible online? Question mark. Why? I would ask, why is it not possible online? The physical body, it's kind of a good question. How is it possible in person? Because we're not this body. So we're communicating through the body, depending on your education and your environment that you grew up in, what your language is, what words you choose to use, what words you understand, what words are comfortable in your vocabulary. And then for yourself, how you understand what you're capable of understanding from that particular person. There's some people that come to me for initiation, and I engage them in conversation, and it's hard to understand what they're saying. They have a particular accent. And some people find it hard to understand what I'm saying because I have a very strong accent. So there can be misunderstandings on both sides. Now, a true guru doesn't only teach you from speaking. He teaches you from presence. In other words, being present. So the question would be, okay, the question still is, or does it not matter if the guru is truly enlightened? Then the means of initiation isn't important. Okay, I want to dispel some myths. Now, if you want enlightenment, it's important, it's absolutely important that the guru has enlightenment, if that's what you want. If you just want to learn Hatha Yoga, for example, enlightenment's not required. If you want to learn japa or mantras, enlightenment's not required. But if you want self-realization, if you want God realization, it's absolutely required that they have self-realization and God realization. Otherwise, how could they possibly teach you? How could they possibly show you? So the question is it possible online? Yeah, absolutely it's possible online. It's different. When you're talking in person, the energy of the body, the prana, under your intellect and wisdom, chooses words, and the words themselves are vibration. How the vocal cords work. And then the words, as you receive them, are also vibration. It's vibrating those little hairs in your ear. On a computer online right now, I have your attention. I'm speaking to you exactly the way I would speak to you if you were here in person. And you're listening to me exactly the same way you would in person as you're right now online. It depends on your interest. If you're interested, then you're listening to everything I say. If I'm with somebody in person, initiate that in person. If the person isn't just a little bit interested, they're not really listening 100%. So it's in your desire to know. It isn't the method in person or on the computer. When I initiate on the computer, I can see you. I can see your karmic condition. It's in your face. It's in your eyes. It's in the type of face you have. and it's also in the way you talk, what you talk about. It also reveals your karma, if you know how to read it, which I do. So that can definitely be done online as well as in person. There's no difference. Now, the only difference is I can't touch you. And there is a power in touch. Definitely a power in touch. You know, anybody that you, for example, meet for the first time, you keep your distance from that person. You don't just go up to them and touch them. You keep your distance until you get to know them better. But the first time somebody touches you, it gets your attention. And touch is very powerful. So that's you don't have touch, but the touch has nothing to do with Kriya Yoga initiation. The touch is just makes you even more focused. But if I touch you on the shoulder, you're going to be much more focused on what I'm saying. You're going to be much more focused on my presence. So it's sometime, no, I initiate a lot of people online. I found it doesn't make any difference at all. Some people have been with me for 14 years. I've never met them in person. Some people that are here at Satsang right now have been with me that long, and I've never met them in person. And they're extremely advanced in Kriya Yoga, and they're also very devoted to me, and I'm very devoted to them. So at some time it isn't necessary, but if I do initiate you online, at some time it would be good if you come to India and meet me, for sure. Does initiating people affect you? Is it initiating a lot of people physically or spiritually draining for a guru? It's never spiritually draining because there's an unlimited supply of spirit. So spirit cannot be taken out of you. Energy cannot be taken out of you. What you are as Atma. That's not possible. Now, it does have effect on the physical body. Physical body is designed to withstand a certain voltage of current, of energy. If a higher voltage of energy goes through the physical body, it can cause some effects that can have some ailments associated with that because it's straining the physical body. But that's true of anybody who does anything to the extreme. Kriya Yoga initiation is an extreme activity. So what the guru does is extreme. If you were to build a business, your own business as an entrepreneur, you put a lot of yourself into starting that business, building the business. I've started businesses, I know what it's like. I mean, it takes your whole day and your night. You're there night and day getting your business started. And your body suffers for it. So anything that you give a tremendous amount of energy to has an effect on the body. What are some ways self-realization can be demonstrated? I demonstrate it with, I show you prana control. I show you how I control prana, and you can see it. You can see its effect physically. That's the primary way. So I show you the effect of Kriya Pranayama on my physical body. Now it's a good effect. It's not a bad effect. No, there's no bad effect to spiritual energy because it's brought. You work with the prana that's in your body, and also work with the prana that comes into your body through the medulla oblongata. So there's no limit to how much energy is available to you, but there's never too much. There could be too much if you were extremely motivated and you said, well, I'm going to practice Kriya Yoga for 4 hours every day or 3 hours every day. There could be some physical and mental effects that you might not be ready for. But if you have a guru, the guru tells you how much to meditate, and you say, well, my situation is such that I can meditate for 3 hours. And he'll say, well, that's great, but here's some effects that it'll have on your body and your mind that to be aware of, so that when they do happen, you'll understand, and you won't be perplexed by them, and they won't cause you to quit. You understand that it's a natural result of practicing intense tapas. When I first started practicing yoga, I was already meditating about 2 hours a day. And then when I was initiated, I started practicing 14 to 15 hours a day. But I was living in the foothills of the Himalayas, like I am now, next to the Ganges. I had a little hut next to the Ganges. And then I had genuine, true Mahatmas, self-realized and God-realized Mahatmas that I lived with. And then there were 2 perfect master gurus that also gave me instruction. Because of my age and because of my personality, I had no friends, never had any interest in friends. I had 0 friends, didn't have a girlfriend, had no interest in my mother and father. So it was really easy for me to leave my mother and father. That was the only relationship I had, was with my mother and father. I had no ownership of anything. I'd never had a job, never needed a job. So I never worked, and I didn't work at that time, didn't need to. Didn't own anything. The only thing I owned were 2 dhotis and 2 t-shirts. And a bragan, which is a elbow prop for practicing pranava mudras. And then I had a wool blanket, because it can get cold in the winter. So in that type of situation, you can be extremely concentrated because there's nothing distracting you. And then I had Mahatmas, I had perfect masters. If I was experiencing something that was odd to me, I could ask them, and they could explain to me what it is and why you're having it, and that it's not going to last forever, it's temporary, and continue to persevere. Are you able to concentrate inanimate objects and make their reverberation godly, similar to like in ancient temples in India? If you're referring to a person, you're already godly. You are Atma. So spiritual practice is for you to have that revealed to you, that you are godly. You are Atma. You are pure. You are sacred. You are. So there's no reason to be looking for something sacred when you are sacred. It would be like if I had 20 lakhs of gold and I had it with me. Then I go out in search of gold. Why would I go out in search of gold? I already have all the gold I would need for a lifetime. So the sacred temple is inside you. Now we travel in the Himalayas. We go to ancient temples, and it's beautiful to do. But I find the sacred. I find the holy. I find the pure within my own self. Can a Kriya Yoga practitioner also be able to do so and make living altars in their home? Again, the divinity is living within you. You are that living divinity. So to take an inanimate object and infuse it with spiritual energy wouldn't make any sense. Why? I'm swimming in divinity. Why would I need to make an altar when I have the altar inside myself? Why would I make a physical altar? We have altars where we have pictures of our gurus of the lineage. That's nice. But pictures of the gurus of the lineage, we don't have to infuse spirituality into that. It comes with its own infusion of spirituality. just because it's the image of a divine guru. Okay, that's all the questions. Okay, here's one. How does complete Pratyahara feel? What does it feel like? The signs that a person is in Pratyahara. You're not in a spiritual Pratyahara when you're sleeping, and when you're sleeping, you are somewhat unconscious, but it is similar to that. So when you go into deep sleep, you're not aware of the physical world at all. I took a nap not very long ago in Welcome. It's a real deep sleep. And I didn't know where I was. I had no idea what time it was. I didn't know, is it morning? Is it night? I had no idea because I had withdrawn from my physical body. I had withdrawn from my eyes, my ears, my nose, my tongue, my skin when I slept. So it's similar to that, but you're very much alive and very conscious and awake and alert. At the same time, you're super alert. It's called superconsciousness. So in Pratyahara, you have superconsciousness because you don't have the physical senses draining your attention. It would be like I want to collect as much water from the Ganges as possible. I have a big bucket, and I dip it in the Ganges, and I start to go through the jungle back to where I live. But the bucket has little holes in it. So I get there, and there's just a little bit of Ganges water in the bucket. So if your physical senses are active, it's like little holes in your bucket. You just simply don't have enough spiritual presence with you, divine presence with you, because your energy is going, your prana is going out of all these little holes out into the complex web of Maya, which is this physical world. If a person is centered in stillness and bliss, yet the body experiences pain or numbness because of sitting long, because of holding a meditative posture, but the mind is focused on bliss, is that considered pratyahara? Yeah. If you're not energizing your senses, that's pratyahara. If you're concentrated in the spiritual environment, and bliss, referring to bliss, that is the spiritual environment. Bliss is satchitananda. It is complete, total feeling of completeness and a need for absolutely nothing. I'm totally and completely satisfied. I have no desire. I have no interest in anything. All of my attention, all of my focus, all of my love is in the present experience of God. That's bliss. So we'll use Paramahansa Ramakrishna as an example. He was so pure, his mind would go in and out of the world and then into Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So when he was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he would be totally, completely oblivious to the world and completely oblivious to his body. And he never cared about how he was dressed. So very often he would go into, he would be invited to a devotee's house in Calcutta, and he would arrive, and because they had bhajans and they had spiritual talk and people were there for spiritual talk, he would just go into samadhi at the oddest times. And then sometimes his clothes would fall off because he hadn't tied them properly, hadn't tied his dhoti properly. So he was completely exposed in a large group of people, and people would laugh at him. So Pratyahara is like that. some people laughing at you because you meditate in a secluded place. Not where people can watch you meditate, but it is like that, and that you're not aware of physical things. And all of you experience this just throughout your day. If you're really, really thinking about something that's interesting to you, or if it's a problem that you have to solve, you're not aware of certain things in the world. For example, there can be, you're really trying to figure something out, trying to do something that's important, and there can be all sorts of distractions. The dogs outside, the children play, they're loud noises, and you're oblivious to it. In sports, it's very common that the athlete is oblivious to all the thousands of people in the stands. They're oblivious to it. When they're on the field, they're not aware of the people in the stands because they're so concentrated on the sport. So it's like that. Now you can also, there's a stage in Pratyahara where you've withdrawn from the senses, but not completely. But the self in God does present itself to you. So you're aware of God, you're aware of the self, but you're also aware of the world. Now that can be a superconscious state. And so that sometimes is experienced. You have superconsciousness of the world. You can see things that are happening beyond your physical capability of your eyes. You can hear things that are beyond your capability of your ears. And you can feel things that are beyond the capability of your nerves and your skin. That's superconsciousness. So you can have frequent episodes of that as well. And that also is pratyahara. You're not completely disconnected from the senses, but you're mostly connected to the self and God. And so you can have truly divine experiences of the world, because God also exists in the world. It isn't that the world is bad, it's just that the world is not suited for the Atma, for the soul. We're suited for continual bliss, continual satisfaction, and continual joy. We don't enjoy suffering, and the world definitely includes suffering. Some say we have some people, some gurus who say it's my mission to bring peace to the world. They actually say this. Okay, describe to me what that would be like. What is peace in the world? Well, there's no fighting, there's no wars. How do wars start? Where does the disagreement come from? Are you going to solve all the disagreements? Are they all going to be solved? What about the disagreements in a family? There's wars going on in families. I know that for a fact. And it can be life-threatening. It can ruin a person's health. Does it also bring peace to all the families? All the families that don't want peace? What if somebody doesn't want bliss? What if they don't want God? What if they really enjoy all that the world entails, all the negative and the positive? Maybe they enjoy the negative. Are you going to forcibly bring peace to them? So those would be interesting questions to ask the person who says they're here to bring peace to the world. What does that mean? How can one sit longer in meditation without the body showing signs of numbness or pain, so that one can enjoy stillness and good contact for a longer time? Well, there are some factors. When I was 16 and I was meditating for long hours, I never had any distress whatsoever. Zero. I could sit for 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours with no distress at all, because I was young. Another factor is you don't want to overeat. If you overeat and you practice Kriya Yoga, a lot of your prana stays in the stomach, digesting the food. So it's hard to achieve Pratyahara if a large quantity of prana is in the stomach digesting food. So along with Kriya Yoga instruction, it isn't just practicing Kriya Yoga techniques, it's also your life. How much do you eat? You need to eat less to practice Kriya Yoga. You can't stuff yourself. So if your habit is to gorge on large quantities of food, that habit has to be stopped. It might be difficult for the first week, first 2 weeks, but then your stomach starts to shrink, and you find that I don't really require as much food as I was eating. So this is detailed in every practice of yoga, spiritual yoga, that you eat only a small quantity of food. But myself, for example, I don't really eat breakfast. They make a smoothie for me, which is a glass, and I have that. And then lunch is at 1 o'clock, and lunch is a small portion of everything. Small portion of rice, small portion of dal, small portion of salad, and then some curd after the lunch. Ideally, you want to have a portion of food on your plate for lunch. It's about the size of your fist. Some people say, "Well, I can't do that." Well, if you can't manage your physical body, how are you going to achieve Pratyahara? How are you going to be able to meditate if you can't control the physical body? Are you going to be able to control the mind when you can't even control the physical body? So Kriya Yoga, all yoga practice is about control. And controlling the mind and controlling the body. You're not the body is your servant. So you tell the body what to do and what not to do. Now, your mind, there's nothing wrong with the mind. Your mind isn't your servant. You tell the mind what to do and what not to do. So if numbness, if pain is dictating to you, the quality of your meditation is dictating to you the length of your meditation, that's not good. If your mind is dictating to you this and that and whatnot, that's not good. You tell the mind what to do. You also tell the body what to do. So you have to learn to discipline the body. Yogananda spent a lot of time with his disciples, teaching them how to discipline the body, discipline their appetite primarily. If you can discipline your appetite, you can find it's easy to discipline the body. So the numbness, the pain that you feel, primarily don't eat large quantities of food. Eat smaller quantities and have the food that you eat be sattvic. Non-sattvic food causes distress in the body, irritation in the body, and that enhances any pain that you have in your legs. Numbness is something altogether different. I practice all of my meditation in Padmasana, in the lotus position. If you're in the lotus position for a long period of time, for hours and hours, when you come out of the lotus position, it's going to be a little difficult to stand up. People talk about meditative positions, but they don't talk about what happens when you come out of the meditative position, your asana. So that's to be expected. You're going to be a little unsteady. So this is what I found. My knees would hurt in meditation. Not when I was 16, but as I got older. And there would definitely be numbness in the legs. So I'll describe to you what would happen to me. So after about an hour of my asana, I might start to have some real severe pain in my knee, sometimes in both my knees. And I would find that my feet, one of my feet had gone numb. Now, what did I do? A real severe pain in my knee. My mind told me, stretch. Don't meditate. Don't keep your asana. Stretch. That's the automatic response. If we're having pain in our knee, our numbness is to stretch. Well, I was stubborn and determined not to break my asana. I knew that if I continued with the asana, that my asana would improve. My ability to meditate for long hours undisturbed would improve. So I deliberately said, what's the worst that can happen? My knees hurt, my foot's numb. What's the worst that can happen if I continue stoically in my meditation? What's going to happen? Or am I going to die? No, I never heard anybody die from their asana. So you're not going to die. What is going to happen? Well, you're gonna have pain, right? Learn to endure pain. It's important. There's all sorts of pain in the world. There's physical pain, there's emotional pain, there's mental pain. Learn to endure it. Don't immediately on the slightest notice of pain in the body. Don't say, well, this is unbearable. I have to get up. Bear it. That's what I would do. And you know what would happen? The pain would go away. So let's say at an hour, it would usually be 45 minutes. At 45 minutes, I would have pain in my knees. One of my feet would go down. I found if I continued with my concentration on God, on the self, or on the technique I was practicing, there would be moments where I didn't feel any pain at all, because all of my focus was on the self, on God, or on the practice of a technique. Now the pain would come back, but there would be moments when I didn't have it. So I stoically was determined I'm not going to move. And I found that pain of that type isn't going to last forever. We think, as long as I stay fixed in this position, it's going to continue. As long as I stick fixed in this position, it's going to get worse. No, it doesn't. It doesn't continue. Eventually the pain goes away. Understand the purpose of pain. The purpose of pain is to warn us that something is amiss. Okay, I got the warning, but I'm practicing my asana. I'm not going to move. Thanks for the warning. I no longer need the warning. You endure the pain goes away. Pain doesn't last forever. Mental pain, emotional pain doesn't last forever. But people are so quick. I know this from experience. People are so quick. I'm having emotional pain. I'm having mental pain. I need it to go away now. Be patient, and it will go away. Put your attention, put your concentration on something else, and it will go away. So the next time you meditate, do this what I described. It's really interesting. Then sit through the pain, and you'll find that eventually the pain in your knees or in your legs will go away. Numbness, if you ignore the numbness becomes such that you no longer feel the legs. At first you feel numbness. That's kind of distressing. But the numbness then envelops the entirety of the nervous system in the lower legs. And then you're just not aware of your lower legs. When you get up from your asana, you will be aware of it because your leg will be numb. And when you stand up and you put a foot down on a numb leg, it feels really odd, doesn't it? But that's all that's going to happen. You're not going to lose circulation in your leg. There's nothing bad that comes from pain or numbness and meditation, and it'll all go away. But practice that and see for yourself. It does. It always did for me. So I'm assuming that it would happen for you too. I don't know why it wouldn't. We both have, we all have the same physical bodies, the basic body itself. We have little differences, but that should make a difference. So how to increase your meditation, and start off.
Guruji,
Did you have questions, Andrew?
Guruji, I think Kanika and Victor are probably waiting in the waiting room. They were trying to join it. Not sure.
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nobody trying to get on. Does it show on your end that they're trying to get in?
No, they messaged in the group that they were trying to join, and
Yeah, I don't see Victor and the group, but I don't see that he's waiting in the waiting room either. And who was the other
Gurudev, even
person?
I actually logged in a little while ago. I waited for 10, 15 minutes. Then I logged down and I logged back in. So maybe it's, I don't know. Then I messaged Archana after I logged back in.
Yeah, I noticed you when you were first in the waiting room. I thought I put you in pretty quickly, but then
Oh,
you went
sorry.
out.
Then in that case, I don't know because I felt I was not logged in at all. It was still showing me the host will.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't. What happens when somebody comes in the waiting room? It's right on my screen that this person or that person's in the waiting room, and I don't see anybody in the waiting room. So it could be some kind of a flaw with the Zoom. Let me look around. Yeah, I don't see anybody. So let me know if they contact you again, Savage, or message them and ask them to come back into the waiting room. Question, is Nirvikalpa Samadhi the highest state? It's a very high state, and it's required. Swami Sri Yukteswar told Yogananda after his death that he reincarnated onto an astral realm, a very high astral realm, where everybody that lived in that astral realm, it was required. In other words, you're not invited to live there. You can't live there unless you have been able to go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi while you were living in the human body. So that's a very high state. There's very few people in the world that can do that. So he's the guru of these souls that still need purification. So even Nirvikalpa Samadhi isn't the highest state. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, what you have is the direct presence of God, and God is right here, and you meditate in God. Liberation would be merging with God. Meditating on God is extremely blissful. It's totally satisfying. So you don't feel the need, you don't feel the urge to become one with God. So why do I need to become one with God? I have everything I need right now. So it's difficult because you don't feel it's necessary, and it isn't necessary. At your absolute essence of you are already merged with God. You cannot be disconnected from God. So you come from God. You continually are merged with God, even when you're an ignorant, unknowledgeable soul on the earth that's looking for earthly pleasures. They are merged with God. They're just totally unaware of it. So Ramakrishna said about that, he said, I don't want to become sugar. I want to taste sugar. And I understand that. I don't want to become sugar either. I want to taste sugar. I want to be a devotee of God. I don't want to be God. But to me, there's nothing more enjoyable than being a devotee of God. But that's the absolute enjoyment to me. I don't want to become one with God either. So is Nirvikalpa Samadhi the highest state? No, it's not the highest state. It is it's not even the highest Samadhi, but it is a very high Samadhi that's extremely rare in this physical world. Most people that do experience Samadhi with Kriya Yoga, it's Sabakalpa Samadhi. It's called Samadhi with support. So it's Samadhi with the support of God's divine light. It's meditation with support, Samadhi with support of divine sound, God's voice. God's voice we hear as natural sounds of nature and astral sounds of nature and causal sounds of nature. So you have many, many, many beautiful sounds that you meditate on with pranava, mudra, and then divine light you meditate on with yoni mudra. And also God's divine vibration. We also meditate in God's vibration. So you can tangibly experience it. That's one of my most favorite techniques is meditating on Om. This is done with the Hum Sa mantra. It's actually the Om mantra. What many call the Om. The Om technique is they're actually referring to the pranava technique, divine sound technique, which you practice. You put your thumbs on the trachea, then it's like this. Put your tongue back and up. Put your awareness here. So the fingers here can sit in a direction. And then you press the little flap under your ear. Tongue back and up is important. And you start to hear divine sounds. And so like crickets, or flutes, the stories of Krishna playing the flutes, and then the gopis were in love with Krishna. So when they heard the flute, somewhere in the forest, they would go to find Krishna. They would follow the flute. That's why you meditate in pranava mudra. Those are divine sounds. If you follow the sounds, they'll take you to the source of their sounds, which is Krishna. To a devotee of Krishna, it's Krishna. They find Krishna. A devotee of Divine Mother, they find Divine Mother. And a devotee of Shiva, they find Shiva by following the inner divine sounds. And then the divine light is a technique that you practice like this. You put your hand under your elbow, give it support, so there's no fatigue to the deltoid. And then you just close your eyes. Don't lift your eyes up. Just close your eyes. Relax your eyes. Take your thumb and you're holding the eyeball. Here, holding the eyeball. I put your finger here. Put your tongue back and up. And then look into the spiritual eye. If you're practicing this technique, your spiritual eye opens automatically. Right? Is that it? Is that something mysterious? It's very natural. So just by practicing this technique, you're knocking on the door, and the door of the spiritual eye opens. And whatever light presents itself, it's going to be different light for different people. Meditate on that light. That's Jyoti Mudra or Yoni Mudra, divine light. And then the Hangsa mantra is the other technique. That's you meditate in the vibration of God. I'm admitting somebody to the group. Sabchak, that's not a picture. If the physical body is weak, is it still possible to attain to the ultimate and being able to retain the body? Yes. That's a question that someone asked Vivekananda. He said, somebody said, I have tuberculosis. Is it possible for me has self-realization. He says, most certainly, you're not the body. Realization is not dependent on the body. The body is dirt. Some say stardust. It comes from the organic substance set of dirt, soil. So it doesn't have to do with the health of the body at all. You can be in any physical condition and practice Kriya Yoga. The techniques are very easy. I'm not able to sustain spiritual bliss. When it's there, it is the most magical experience, but then it is not. And I yearn for it. Is it another form of addiction? Yeah, it's a good addiction. There's nothing wrong with addiction. If you're in love with somebody, let's say I'm in love with a girl, I'm addicted to her. That's what love is. Love is addiction. So be addicted to God. Absolutely. So why does the bliss come and then the bliss go? Well, there's only one reason for it. The bliss is always there. Why is your attention taken from the bliss? So with Kriya Yoga, you can have bliss. Remember what bliss is experienced as total, complete satisfaction. I have no desires, and I have no desire to think about my desires. I have no desire to think about worldly objects or people, because I feel complete in myself. I'm satisfied. That's what bliss is. And it has an element of vibrational joy and peace, satisfaction, happiness. Why can you not sustain that? Because of impurities. That's the only reason. You can elevate your consciousness, but you will be taken out of it because of your impurities. Because you're not, part of you is in the world because of your impurities. The impurities come from the world. You can't take the impurities with you into the realm of bliss. Can't be done. But you can. But you refuse to give up your impurities because you identify with them. You want them. You have them. You enjoy your impurities. Just like a worm enjoys the mud, doesn't like to be taken out of the mud, out of the dirt. Human beings enjoy different aspects of the world, and those are called samskaras, or vasanas. So all the impurities, which are located in the spiritual body, in the astral body, and the various chakras are associated with different types of experience, different types of desires. So you as a soul, you sit right here in the heart, a little to the left side. This, when the soul goes into the embryo, that's where the soul goes, is right into the heart, not the physical heart, but this location. It comes with all of its unfulfilled desires, and it comes with all of its impressions. Impressions are primarily memories. Deep impressions are memories that have an effect on you emotionally. You bring all those with you. So then you have the good fortune of meeting a guru that gives you Kriya Yoga practice. And with the practice, you're able to elevate your consciousness above the senses, above the world, and you experience bliss, which is always within you. But then the bliss, it feels like it's taken away. And the bliss isn't taken away. Our awareness is taken back down and into the world because of the impurities. The impurities pull us back. So the only way to be a permanent resident, to have bliss all the time, now it is very possible, and doesn't have to take a long time, is to have your impurities removed. So Kriya Yoga is also the removal of impurities. It isn't just practicing techniques. It's changing your lifestyle into a sattvic lifestyle. It's changing your food into sattvic food. It's turning your speech into sattvic speech. It's turning your thinking into sattvic thinking. There's nothing wrong with thinking. What's wrong is to think negatively or badly. Sattvic thinking, only good thoughts occur to you. So as long as there's impurities, you're going to be taken out. You won't be permanent. Also at death, at the time of death of the body, you're going to be in that state of progression, partly in the spiritual world, but still attached to the physical world. And so you'll go to a realm where all of that is taken into account. How do you become pure? And Nandamaya Ma talked about this a lot. She talked about purity. She said that she would pray to God, please take away all my impurities. It's right there that all the true masters spoke about it. Ramakrishna spoke about it. Yogananda spoke about it. Nandamaya Ma spoke about it. Sivananda spoke about it. Ramakrishna spoke about it. And then all the truly divine gurus speak about it. I want purity. I want purity. It's really easy to spot a person who isn't pure. If you're spiritually sensitive, that person is disagreeable to you. The person's not a pleasant company. You feel the urge to get away from that person. It's actually painful to be with that person. Because that person is, whether they know it or not, they're taking your attention away from the bliss with their impurities. So who you associate is extremely important for purification. You only want to have association with those who really, truly aspire for purity, or those who are pure. Now, someone would say, well, how is that practical? I work with all sorts of people at work, and they're certainly not pure. And my own family is not pure. My brothers and sisters and parents, they're not pure. But I have to go to work. I have to live with my family. True, you do. But don't engage with them on an emotional level. And you can still love them. You can still hug them. You can still show that you love them by helping them, but you don't have to put your whole self into them and interact with them on an emotional level or even on a mental level. So how is that done? It sounds, well, how do I do that? You do that by not talking so much. Simple as that. Don't talk as much. You engage with somebody. The more you talk with them, the more you're engaged with that person. Don't talk. Now, some would find that extremely difficult. I have to talk because they contradict me, they upset me, they criticize me. I have to defend myself. No, you don't. You don't have to defend yourself. I need to change their opinion of me. I need to show them the good of me. I'll show that to them in your calmness, in your happiness, in your zero negativity. But not by engaging them in an argument or trying to prove anything. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You don't have to prove to them that you're sincerely aspired for purity, for God realization. You don't need to talk to anybody about it. I never talked to anybody about it. Never have throughout my whole life, except to the Mahatmas. I don't even talk about it with fellow devotees at all. I never engaged with them. These were fellow devotees. I kept all my concentration on God and gave my attention to the gurus, but not social interaction with fellow devotees. So remain concentrated in that way. And then your purities start to be removed. But the biggest, fastest, most complete way to remove impurities is to weaken Now, they describe that in Karma Yoga. I found very few people understand Karma Yoga. Selfless giving, service. The gurus stress three things: satsang, attending satsang. What you're doing right now, this is satsang. It's not anything else. It's not bliss that you feel. It's this. Attend satsang. That purifies. Meditation purifies, but you have to go beyond Pratyahara to meditate. Remember that. You have to be successful at Pratyahara. Understand that meditation comes after Pratyahara. Read that Patanjali's Yoga Sutras that Sri Yukteswar said is the Bible of Kriya Yoga. Patanjali very specifically says, he teaches the 8 limbs of yoga. And Pratyahara, I believe, is the 5th limb of yoga. And then meditation. Very clearly says it. I don't know. Almost all Kriya yogis read Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. I guess they just gloss right over it. They don't really contemplate it the way they should. So Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras tells you exactly how to practice Kriya Yoga, what Kriya Yoga is, and how to practice it. He doesn't say Kriya. It isn't even necessary to say Kriya to practice Kriya Yoga. So as you start to reduce your impurities, this is how you can tell. How am I becoming more pure? Very easy to tell. What are your thoughts? Are your thoughts sensual? Are your thoughts of sensual gratification? Are your thoughts about food? Are your thoughts about drinking? Are your thoughts about sex? Are your thoughts about anything of the world? Is that your primary thought? And then are your thoughts nasty? Or are your thoughts mean? Or are your thoughts disagreeable? They all under the one category of negativity. Are your thoughts negative about others, critical of others? Are your thoughts negative about you? Are you critical of yourself? The less of those thoughts you have, the more pure you're becoming. And I used to have all those thoughts. Every single person does. Lahiri Mahasaya did. He left a diary. It's in the diary. That, why am I having these blood spoon cuts? It happens to everybody. It's the association with the physical body that has hormones. It's association with other people that have agendas. And they have their thoughts, they have their beliefs, interactions with them, and the desire to interact with them. So all of that produces thoughts. Your conversation with somebody is creating subtle impressions. That thoughts feed off of impressions. Thoughts are activated by impressions. Thoughts are called vrittis, Patanjali says. So I can tell you honestly right now, I have no mean thoughts. I have no sexual thoughts. I have no thoughts of food. I have no thoughts of any sensual gratification. I don't have any negative thoughts other than just the type of negativity that is required to function in the world. The world itself is a mixture of positive and negative, light and darkness. So there is going to be certain thoughts that are required that you could say, well, that's the negative thought. Well, it isn't a negative thought that I'm pondering over or I'm contemplating. It's a negative thought that's part of what I'm doing at the moment. I have to identify the weaknesses. I have to identify the negatives in order to eliminate them in the project that I'm doing. In other words, if you're making something, you have to, whatever its purpose is, you have to eliminate the weaknesses in what you're making in order to achieve the results. And that requires identification of weaknesses, which are always a negative. So that's the easy way. Just look at the quality of your thoughts. There's all sorts of negative thoughts a person can have, but there are divine thoughts. If you're becoming more and more pure, if you're becoming more and more pure, you're still going to have thoughts, but they're going to be sweet thoughts. They're going to be lovely thoughts. Now, what's the primary way to become more pure is through service, because you're giving of yourself. You're not thinking of yourself. You're thinking of others. So even the slightest act of giving is very, very purifying. And this is also told in the ancient scriptures. For example, if you're very hungry, if you're starving, if you're in a situation where food is not plenty, and you haven't eaten for a while, and then somebody has a little excess of chapatis, they give you a chapati. Just as you're about to eat the chapati, two people come across you, and they're starving, and they say, "Will you share your chapati with me?" And your first thought, which is your primary thought, is, "No, I'm starving. I need it for myself." Now, giving, with a pure mind, your first thought is them. It's not yourself. These people are starving. Let me help them. Let me put some nourishment in their stomachs. So you take the chapati and you tear it in two, and you say, "Well, I'll find some food myself later." And you can have both of them half of the chapati. That's selfless. That's what really dramatically destroys your impurities. All your impurities exist because of ego. If you don't have an egoic self that is connected to the body and the world, you're not going to have negative thoughts. All negative thoughts come from the brain. They don't come from you. You're Atma. You're pure. You were made pure, and you've remained pure. Just the negative things have attached themselves to you. Those are called samskaras, or vasanas. And you can't settle in permanent bliss if you're trying to take the samskaras, the vasanas with you. You can't. No purities are allowed. So it's a process of becoming more pure. You become more pure by attending satsang like this, by meditation, beyond Pratyahara, meditation. That's the airplane route that Yogananda spoke on. After Pratyahara, practicing the techniques isn't the airplane route. Practicing the techniques without any connection to the world and with concentration, that's the airplane route. And then service, seva. The best seva that you can give is to your guru. Your guru isn't going to be embodied forever. Your guru is here for a certain time and then gone. Never to be in this body ever again. The service that you do for your guru is service that you're participating in the service that the guru does. In the mail, I get letters because I take care of dogs to donate money to take care of this dog shelter or take care of that dog shelter. I send them money. By sending them money, I'm participating with them in saving dogs and feeding dogs. I'm directly participating. So by giving seva to your guru, you're directly participating in his life, which is dedicated to spreading the same knowledge that Mahavatar Babaji is spreading to the world through Lahiri Mahasaya. So you're participating in that. If you're not giving seva, you're not participating in that. You can say, "Well, I tell others," so you are participating in that way, But it's not that you're not participating in a way that is forcibly denying the ego. You can actually feel, your ego can feel invigorated by that type of sila. So it really isn't sila. Okay, so I brought a dozen people for our Kriya. I brought 25 people to Kriya. I'm really serving the guru. So there's problems with that attempting that type of service. Now the same thing could happen. Let's say if you're giving monetary sila to the guru, you can think, well, I'm look how selfless I am. I've given this much. I don't think anybody else has given this much. So if your ego is stubborn, if it is wants to continue to exist, it'll continue for as long as you allow it. So this is what karma yoga is. Karma yoga is doing without looking for the results, without identifying with the result. It's karma yoga. So karma yoga is also part of Kriya Yoga. You're meditating, you're doing the practice of the Kriya techniques without looking for result. Everybody I've met practices Kriya for the results. So apparently this isn't being taught to most people. That you practice without looking for results. That's karma yoga. And Kriya is an action. It is karma yoga. So you practice without results. And then you also give sila without attaching your ego to it that I'm giving. My experience is that I don't feel like I'm giving at all. I'm not attached to the results of what I do at all. I'm not attached to the actions that I do. If it's helping others, I get some indications that it is, but it's not why I do what I do. And the service that I do, it's 24 hours a day. It isn't once a month, but it's 24 hours a day. I'm helping others with spiritual knowledge. I don't do it for the money because there's no money in it. Not the way I do it. But I live in poverty. I'm happy in poverty. I don't need wealth. I've had extreme wealth in the past. I gave it all up. It wasn't satisfying. So to be really successful in Kriya Yoga, it has to be your priority of life. Some say, well, I just can't do that. That's discussed in all the scriptures. That's discussed by all the gurus. If you can't do that, why? There's a reason why. Why? There's only one reason. Self-interest. Your mind is your best friend. Your negative thoughts are also your friends. Your body is your most treasured friend. The world is your home. That's why. That's what all the scriptures say. And that's what it is. What happens to devotees when the realized master is no longer living? How are they guided afterwards? It's a good question. Simple answer. I had somebody message me. He seemed like a good guy at first. I didn't realize he was crazy. And then he said, after messaging with him for a couple of weeks, he wouldn't come to Satsang, which is a sign right there. He said, it looks like you're going to die soon. What are you going to do with your assets? What are you going to do with your properties? What a strange question. First of all, he tells me I'm going to die soon because I look unhealthy. And he assumes that I have large assets, that I need to do something with it. And then he said, what's going to happen to your disciples when you die? I mean, they're going to be lost. They won't be guided. All of those things that he spoke of, all of it is completely untrue. So what's going to happen to my disciples? What's going to happen to any disciple of a guru? you're not going to be, the whole purpose of what you're doing isn't to be in the position that you're in right now. It's for you to become a Mahatma, for you to have knowledge, for you to have intimate contact with God, for you to be directed by God, not by your guru. Your guru introduces you to God. That's all the guru has to do. And then if you can't stabilize in God, the guru continues to help you. So what's going to happen to my disciples? Well, they're not going to need further guidance. They've already had everything that they need. They're going to become Mahatmas. They don't need a guru. So he said, this fellow said, donate all your properties to Self-Realization Fellowship, and send all your disciples to Self-Realization Fellowship so they can continue to be guided. But all of his ideas were based on the lack of knowledge of spiritual realities. The examples are right there. Look at Paramahansa Yogananda. When he left Sri Yukteswar, when he came to America, he went on a ship and took I think 4 months to arrive in the United States on the ship. So he was alone on the ship, and then he was alone in the United States. He didn't have Sri Yukteswar's guidance. He didn't need it. He was completely autonomous. He had his own power. He had his own knowledge. So what the guru helps you with is your own position, your own knowledge. After that, you don't need anything. You're self-sufficient. The properties, I have no properties. I have zero. I don't learn anything at all. I have this computer. I have some personal items, but I don't own any properties. I don't own any vehicles. I don't own anything. So nothing, after I die, some of my personal effects will go to some people, but you're not going to inherit a lot of money or property, not from me. How can we learn Kriya from you? What is the process? Process, that's another good question. The process is to come to my satsang. It shows that you're serious. If you make time to come to satsang, that means you're serious. I have one girl in Australia and one fellow in New Zealand. And right now in Australia, it's late at night. It's 1:48 a.m. And she comes to satsang. And she lives a regular life. So she wakes up in the middle of the night to attend satsang, and she attends almost all the satsangs. The same thing with the fellow in New Zealand. Now, I attended thousands of satsangs. As I said, I meditated long hours every single day because that was what I wanted to do. I didn't need anybody to encourage me at all. I didn't need anybody. That's what I wanted, and I wanted it dramatically. So I wanted to meditate, and I wanted to attend satsang. I attended thousands of hours of satsangs from Mahatmas, and I was always the first one there, always, and I was always the last one to leave, always, every satsang. But I also had darshan. I had darshan with the perfect masters. Every time darshan was being offered, I went to every single darshan. So I had darshan placing my head on the feet at the perfect master hundreds of times. So I've had thousands of satsangs, darshan hundreds of times, meditation thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours. And I'm the way that I am right now. I have no desires. I have no impurities. I know for a fact that I don't. It's going to shock to me that I don't. And I'm just a regular person. I had all the vulnerabilities, probably more vulnerabilities than most people. I won't describe all of them to you, but they're numerous. But I wanted God. I wanted God realization. So I did what was required. God. I never gave monetary seva because I never had any money. I didn't have to work. So I never earned any money. I never had any money. I don't have any money now. But I was fortunate in that I could serve the perfect masters personally. I could wash their clothes. I could bring their food. I could make their bed. I could massage their feet. And I could do a lot of things. I could drive them where they wanted to go. Now that would be nice if everybody could do that, but that's rare. It's rare that somebody can do that. It's rare to come across a perfect master. And then true devotees are also rare. But just because they're rare doesn't mean that you can't be that perfect devotee. You have the ability and you have everything that's required. There's no reason why you can't, if that's what you want. And Anandamaya wanted to be a absolutely pure devotee. We have the example of Hanuman, for example, the stories of Hanuman. What was his primary purpose for life? Was serving Ramana. So that's seva, that's service. So we have all of those examples before us that we've heard of. If we don't have a guru to tell us, to point these things out, they just kind of slip by us. We don't see what's right before us in the scriptures until we attend satsang. So start attending satsang, and then message me personally that you want initiation, and I'll message with you, and sincerity is required, and so I'll be able to judge your sincerity with the questions that I ask, and then we can set a initiation. It's done either in person. I initiated a lot of people in Delhi. Some people here can be in person, or it can be on Zoom. There's no difference between the two. Initiation takes about an hour. That's the process. Okay. Any questions? We have about 5 minutes. And also, I was fortunate in that I was able to live with Mahatmas and perfect masters. So I lived with them. I was able to see how they lived. I was able to see how their minds work. I was able to see how they handle themselves in various situations. I was able to see their purity. They demonstrated their purity to me. They demonstrated their meditation to me. They demonstrated their knowledge to me. One way, for example, is when I give satsang, I don't. I'm not telling you Yogananda said this, Yogananda said that. I'm telling you from my own experience. That's one sign of realization. Speak to you from their own experience, their own stories, their own activities, their own life growing up. It all comes to you. When I give satsang, I have nothing planned. I have nothing to talk about. I don't come here to teach you anything. I don't come here to talk about anything in particular. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, other than it will be about God. Occasionally I quote a scripture. Occasionally I quote a guru, but the whole satsang isn't quoting the gurus. It's from my own experience. People who perform healing and Reiki or pranic healing, is it wrong to do and learn such things? Well, on any activity, I always ask myself, well, I already know myself, but I ask others, why are you doing it? Why are you doing pranic healing? What's your purpose? And people have various answers. So far, I haven't heard any good answers. I don't do pranic healing. I don't do any healing. What is healing? And that's another question I ask. Go to the essence of what you're referring to. Healing for what? Is it a condition? Usually, it's a physical condition. My question would be, why do you put such an emphasis on the physical body? Whatever healing you do is going to be temporary. It's not going to last. Why is it so important? And so, well, I'm going to give some relief to a person from their suffering. Suffering is good. There's nothing wrong with suffering. The reason people don't like suffering is because it's unpleasant. The suffering has a purpose. Suffering is one of the best motivators that brings you closer to God, is because of suffering. I've been through, and many of you have been through all sorts of suffering. I've been through just about every type of suffering. It's not really that bad. The worst suffering I had was extreme suffering that was chronic. So it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for over 7 years, constantly. Never had any relief at all for 7 years. Life had become almost not worth living. If you can get through that, then you can get through any kind of suffering. So why this obsession with healing others? But if I ask yourself that question, why do I want to do this? And in Kriya Yoga, if you want initiation, ask yourself, why do I want initiation? Or if you want to do anything, ask yourself why. If you have desires that you want to fulfill in the world, go and fulfill all your desires, all your good desires. That's also why you're here, is to fulfill desires. But ask yourself, why do I want this? If you know why you want it, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve what you want. The path to achievement in any worldly desire is going to be a lot easier if you know why. And then, of course, from why you have how, and then you do. Is it wrong to do and learn such thing as pranic healing? No, it isn't. It isn't wrong. Everything isn't about right and wrong. It would be wrong for some people, but it would be right for some people. And I don't see how it would interfere with self-realization, for example. And I would just ask you to ask yourself, why am I doing it? Okay, that's it for today and for this week. And I'll see everybody either here in person or next Saturday. If you do want initiation, just message me and start a conversation. And let me see that you're attending Satsang, and then we'll take it from there. TK? Okay. And I'm going to check. Thank you, Gurudev. And that's something. Om Tat Sat.
Pranam, Guruji.